Sarah Martinez sat at her small desk in the office. She opened her old brown wallet very slowly. Inside, there was only one thing: a wrinkled $5 bill. Her heart started beating fast as she looked at it. This was all the money she had left in the world? Oh no, Sarah whispered to herself. What am I going to do? She worked at Morrison Tech Solutions as a receptionist. Every day, she sat at the front desk and answered phone calls. She also said hello to people who came to visit the office. The job was okay, but it did not pay much money. Sarah had been working there for 8 months now, and every month was a struggle. After Sarah paid her rent, bought food, and paid for the bus to work, there was almost no money left. She also had to send money to her mother, who lived far away. Her mother was very sick and could not work anymore. Sarah's little brother was only 15 years old and still went to school. The family needed Sarah's help to survive. Now it was Tuesday afternoon. Sarah's next paycheck would not come until Friday. 3 more days. How could she make $5 last for 3 whole days? Sarah's stomach made a loud rumbling sound. She had not eaten anything since yesterday evening. For breakfast, she had only eaten a piece of old bread with some water. That was all the food she had left in her apartment. She looked at the clock on the wall. It was 12:30 in the afternoon, lunchtime, all around her. She could hear her coworkers talking about where they wanted to go eat. Some were planning to go to the fancy restaurant down the street. Others were talking about ordering pizza delivery. I have to eat something, Sarah thought. I cannot work all afternoon with no food in my stomach. Sarah stood up from her desk and walked to the window. Across the street, she could see a small cafe called Sunny's Corner. It was not a fancy place, but the food was good, and it did not cost too much money. Well, it did not cost too much for most people. For Sarah, even the cheapest food there was expensive. She had only been to Sunny's Corner 2 times before. Both times she had saved money for weeks just to buy one small sandwich. But today, she was so hungry that she felt dizzy. She had to eat something, even if it meant spending her last $5. Sarah picked up her wallet and walked out of the office building. The sun was very hot, and she could feel sweat starting to form on her face. She crossed the street carefully and pushed open the door to Sunny's Corner. The cafe was full of people. Workers in nice business suits and pretty dresses were standing in line to buy their lunch. The smell of fresh sandwiches, hot soup, and coffee filled the air. Sarah's mouth started to water, and her stomach made another loud noise. She looked up at the big menu board on the wall behind the counter. A small turkey sandwich cost $4. A cup of tomato soup cost $3. A salad cost $5. Sarah did some quick math in her head. She bought the soup. She would have $2 left. That would be enough money for the bus ride home tonight. Tomorrow, she could walk to work instead of taking the bus, which would save her $2. Sarah got in line behind the other customers. In front of her was a woman wearing an expensive-looking black dress. The woman ordered a big salad, a sandwich, a bag of chips, and a bottle of fancy water. The total cost was $14. Sarah could not believe it. That woman had just spent more money on one lunch than Sarah usually spent on food for Anne. The entire week behind Sarah, she could hear someone talking quietly. It sounded like a man, and he seemed upset about something. Where did I put it? The man said to himself. It has to be here somewhere. Sarah turned around a little bit to see who was talking. There was a tall man standing behind her. He looked like he was about 40 years old, with short black hair and kind eyes. He was wearing a very nice dark blue business suit and shiny black shoes. He looked like he had a lot of money, but right now, the man looked very worried. He was checking all of his pockets, his jacket pockets, his pants pockets, even his shirt pocket. His hands were moving quickly, and his face was getting red. No, this is terrible, the man said quietly. I cannot believe I did this. The line was moving forward slowly. Sarah was getting closer to the front counter. She tried not to listen to the man behind her, but he was still talking to himself. I left it at the hotel, the man said. How could I be so stupid? I left my wallet sitting on the bed at the hotel. Sarah felt bad for the man. She knew exactly how it felt to not have money when you needed it. She had been in that situation. Many times before, it was embarrassing and scary. "Next customer," called the woman behind the counter. She was a middle-aged lady with gray hair and a tired expression. It was the man's turn to order. He walked up to the counter slowly. Sarah could see that his face was now very red, and he looked embarrassed. "Hello," the man said politely. "I am very sorry, but I have made a terrible mistake. I left my wallet back at my hotel room. I do not have any money with me right now." The woman behind the counter looked annoyed. She rolled her eyes and sighed loudly. "Well then, you cannot buy anything. You need to move out of the line so other people can order." "Yes, of course," the man said quickly. "I am very sorry for wasting your time." The man turned around and started walking toward the door of the cafe. Sarah watched him go. His shoulders were bent down, and he walked slowly like he was very sad. She could see that he was embarrassed about what had just happened. As Sarah watched the man walk away, something inside her heart started to hurt. She knew exactly how he felt right now. She had been in that same situation so many times. Feeling when you really need something but cannot have it because you do not have money. The feeling when people look at you like you have done something wrong. The shame and the sadness that comes with being poor. Sarah looked down at her $5 bill again. She thought about her empty refrigerator at home. She thought about having to walk to work tomorrow morning because she would not have bus money. She thought about being hungry for the next 3 days, till she got paid. Then she looked at the man who was almost at the door of the cafe. He was a complete stranger. She did not know his name or anything about him, but she could see that he was a good person who was having a bad day. And she knew that she had the power to help him. Without thinking about it anymore, Sarah made her decision. "Wait," she called out loudly. "Sir, please wait a minute." Everyone in the cafe turned to look at Sarah. The man stopped walking and turned around. He looked surprised and confused. Sarah walked up to the man and held out her $5 bill. Her hand was shaking a little bit, but her voice was strong. "Please let me buy your lunch," she said with a smile. "I know what it feels like to have a difficult day." The man's eyes got very wide. He looked at Sarah, then at the money in her hand, then back at Sarah's face. "Oh no," he said softly. "I cannot take your money. You do not know me at all. I am a complete stranger to you." "That is exactly why I want to help you," Sarah said. "Sometimes strangers are the people who need our kindness the most. And sometimes helping a stranger makes us feel good inside." The man stared at Sarah for a long moment. She could see that he was very touched by her offer, but also that he did not want to take money from someone else. "You are very kind," the man said, "but I will be okay. I can go back to my hotel and get my wallet later. You should keep your money." Sarah could see in the man's eyes that he really was hungry and that he really did need help. She could also see that he was a good person who did not want to be a burden to anyone else. "Please," Sarah said gently. "It would make me very happy." "To help you, what would you like to eat?" The man was quiet for a moment. Finally, he spoke in a soft voice. "Are you absolutely sure about this? I do not want you to spend money that you need for yourself." Sarah thought about her empty stomach and her empty wallet. She thought about all the things she would have to give up by helping this stranger. Then she looked at his kind face and made her final decision. "I am completely sure," she said. "Now what sounds good to you?" The man stared at Sarah for a long moment, clearly moved by her gesture. "Are you absolutely sure? This is incredibly generous of you." "I'm sure," Sarah said firmly, though her mind was already calculating how she would manage the next few days without any money. "What would you like to eat?" Just the soup and bread, please." "That's more than enough," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. As they waited for his order, they began to talk. The man introduced himself as David Chen and mentioned he was new to the city, starting a new position on Monday. Sarah found him surprisingly easy to talk to. He asked genuine questions about her life and listened intently to her answers. "I work at Morrison Tech Solutions," Sarah explained. "It's a good company, though. I'm just in reception. I'm hoping to move up someday, maybe into their customer service department or even sales." David nodded thoughtfully. "What do you like most about working there? The people mostly?" "Even though I'm at the bottom of the ladder, most everyone treats me with respect. The management seems to genuinely care about work-life balance and employee development." I've heard they're getting new leadership soon, someone who's supposed to bring fresh ideas. That sounds promising, David said, accepting his soup with gratitude. You know, I've found that the character of a company often reflects the character of its employees. If they have people like you working there, they must be doing something right. Sarah blushed at the compliment. You're very kind, but I'm nothing special. I just try to treat people the way I'd want to be treated. As David prepared to leave, he shook Sarah's hand warmly. Thank you again, Sarah. Your kindness today means more than you could possibly know. I have a feeling our paths will cross again soon. I hope so, Sarah replied genuinely. Good luck with your new job on Monday. Watching him walk away, Sarah felt a strange mix of satisfaction and anxiety. She had done the right thing, but now she faced 3 days with no money and no clear plan for how to manage. Part 3. Monday morning surprises. Monday morning arrived with unusual excitement at Morrison Tech Solutions. The entire office buzzed with anticipation about meeting their new CEO, who was scheduled to address all employees at 10 o'clock. Sarah had heard whispers that he was young, innovative, and had big plans for expanding the company. As the receptionist, Sarah was responsible for greeting visitors and managing the front desk, but today felt different. Her supervisor, Janet, seemed more nervous than usual, constantly checking her watch and adjusting her outfit. Remember, Sarah, we need to make an excellent first impression today, Janet reminded her for the 3rd time. This new CEO could change everything around here. Sarah nodded, though her mind kept drifting to her empty stomach. She had managed the weekend by eating rice and whatever leftovers she could find at home, but she was genuinely hungry. Coworker Lisa had offered to lend her money, but Sarah's pride made it difficult to accept help from someone who was barely making more than she was. At exactly 10 o'clock, employees began gathering in the main conference room. Sarah remained at her desk to handle any incoming calls or visitors, watching through the glass walls as her colleagues filled the seats. She could see the back of a man in a navy suit standing at the front of the room, but couldn't make out his face clearly. The meeting seemed to go well. She could hear occasional laughter and what sounded like enthusiastic responses from the crowd. After about 30 minutes, people began filing out, chatting excitedly among themselves. He seems amazing, she heard one colleague say. Really down-to-earth and focused on employee growth. Did you see how he remembered people's names? Already? And those expansion plans sound incredible? Another added. Sarah was curious but remained focused on her work, answering phones and organizing paperwork. She was so absorbed in her tasks that she didn't notice when someone approached her desk until she heard a familiar voice. Hello, Sarah. She looked up and nearly dropped her phone. Standing before her, smiling warmly, was David Chin, the man she had bought lunch for just 3 days earlier. Part 4. The truth revealed. Sarah's mouth fell open in complete shock. David, what? How do you doing here? I work here now, he said gently, his eyes twinkling with amusement at her reaction. Sarah Martinez, I'd like you to meet David Chen, the new CEO of Morrison Tech Solutions. The words hit her like a physical blow. The stranger she had spent her last $5 on was the CEO of her company. The man she had worried about going hungry was one of the most successful business leaders in the industry. Sarah felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and confusion. I don't understand, she stammered. What? You said you forgot your wallet. You were... I was telling the truth, David interrupted softly. I had just arrived from a red-eye flight, went straight to my hotel to change, and in my exhaustion, I left my wallet in my room. I was jet-lagged, disoriented, and yes, genuinely hungry. Your kindness that day was real, and so was my gratitude. Sarah struggled to process this information. But you're the CEO. You could have just... you must have credit cards, or... I could have figured something out, you're right. But in that moment, I was just a tired, hungry person who made a mistake. And you, without knowing anything about my background or my ability to pay, you back offered help with what I later realized was probably money you couldn't afford to spare. The truth of his words hit her hard. She had been living on rice and hope for 3 days because of her decision to help him. Read her thoughts. Sarah, I want you to know that what you did that day told me everything I needed to know about the kind of person you are. In my 20 years in business, I've learned that technical skills can be taught, but character cannot. You showed me more about your character in 5 minutes than most people reveal in years. I still can't believe this is happening, Sarah whispered, feeling overwhelmed.
I'll believe it,
David said with a warm smile. And I hope you'll also believe me when I say that your kindness is about to change your life in ways you never imagined. Part 5. A new beginning. Over the following weeks, Sarah's life transformed in ways she could never have anticipated. David didn't just remember her act of kindness. He made it his mission to ensure that her potential was recognized and nurtured within the company. Their first official conversation took place in his office a few days after the revelation. Had been nervous, unsure of what to expect, but David put her at ease immediately. I've been reviewing your employee file, he began. Your supervisors consistently rate you highly for reliability, customer service skills, and teamwork. But I'm more interested in what I observed about you personally. Tell me about your career goals. Sarah found herself opening up about her dreams of advancing within the company, her desire to eventually move into sales or customer relations, and her commitment to supporting her family. David listened intently, asking thoughtful questions and taking notes. I'm going to propose something, he said finally. Our customer success department is expanding, and we need someone who understands what it means to put customers first. Someone who naturally thinks about helping others, even when it costs them something personally. I'd like to offer you a position as a customer success coordinator, with a 40% salary increase and full benefits. Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes. I don't know what to say. This is beyond anything I dreamed of. Say yes, David encouraged, and know that this isn't charity. This is business. I'm investing in someone who has already proven their character to me. The transition into her new role was challenging, but rewarding. Sarah threw herself into learning everything she could about customer relations, sales processes, and business development. David became an informal mentor, checking in regularly and providing guidance without micromanaging. Months later, as Sarah was closing what would become the company's largest client deal of the year, she reflected on how a single moment of kindness had changed everything. She had learned that sometimes the universe tests us not through hardship, but through the choices we make when we think no one important is watching. David's leadership transformed Morrison Tech Solutions into one of the most employee-focused companies in the industry. He often told the story of Sarah's kindness during company meetings, not to embarrass her, but to illustrate the values he wanted to see throughout the organization. True character, he would say, is revealed not in grand gestures, but in small moments when we choose to help others despite our own struggles. Sarah taught me that the best employees aren't just those with impressive resumes, but those with generous hearts. Sarah never forgot the lesson either. Even as her career flourished and her financial struggles became a memory, she continued to carry $5 in her wallet, not for emergencies, but as a reminder to always be ready to help a stranger in need, because sometimes the person you help today might just change your life tomorrow. Monday morning came very fast. Sarah woke up early and got ready for work. She felt nervous and excited at the same time. Today was a very special day at Morrison Tech Solutions. The company was getting a new boss, a new CEO. Everyone in the office had been talking about it for weeks. Sarah put on her best dress. It was a simple blue dress that she had bought at a second-hand store, but it looked nice on her. She wanted to make a good impression today, even though she was just the receptionist. She knew that first impressions were very important. She ate a small breakfast of toast and coffee. Over the weekend, she had been very careful with her money. She had walked to the grocery store instead of taking the bus. She had bought only the cheapest food she could find. It was hard, but she had managed to save enough money to buy some basic groceries. When Sarah got to work, the office was buzzing with excitement. Everyone was talking about the new CEO. Sarah sat down at her desk at the front of the office and started her work. Her job was to answer the phone and greet visitors. She also had to make sure the front desk area looked neat and clean. Sarah, called Janet, her supervisor. Janet was a middle-aged woman who had worked at the company for many years. Usually calm and relaxed, but today she seemed very nervous. "Yes, Janet," Sarah replied. "Remember, we need to make an excellent impression today," Janet said, for the third time that morning. "This new CEO is very important. He could change everything about this company. We need to show him that we are professional and hardworking." "Understand," Sarah said. "I will do my best." Janet walked away, but Sarah could see that she was still worried. All around the office, people were cleaning their desks and checking their appearance in mirrors. Everyone wanted to look perfect for the new boss. At exactly 10 o'clock in the morning, people started walking toward the big conference room. This was where the new CEO would give his first speech to all the employees. Sarah wanted to go listen, too, but she had to stay at her desk. Someone needed to answer the phones and greet any visitors who might come. Sarah watched through the glass walls as her coworkers filled up the conference room. She could see the back of a man in a dark suit, standing at the front of the room, but she could not see his face clearly. He was too far away, and there were too many people in the way. The meeting started. Sarah could hear the sound of the man's voice, but she could not understand what he was saying. Sometimes she heard laughter from the room. Sometimes she heard clapping. It sounded like the meeting was going very well. Sarah tried to focus on her work, but she was very curious about the new CEO. What was he like? Was he young or old? Was he nice or mean? Would he fire people or hire more people? These questions kept running through her mind. After about 30 minutes, people started coming out of the conference room. They were all talking excitedly among themselves. Sarah could hear bits and pieces of their conversations as they walked past her desk. "He seems really nice," said one woman. "It's not scary at all like I thought he would be." "Did you hear his plans for expanding the company?" said a man. "We might open offices in 3 new cities." "I love that he remembered people's names already," said another woman. "He must have studied all our files before he came here." "He said he wants to promote people from within the company instead of hiring outsiders," said a young man. "That means we all have a chance to move up." Air listened to all these comments with interest. The new CEO sounded like a very good leader. She hoped that maybe someday she would have a chance to meet him, and maybe even work for him directly, but for now, she was just the receptionist. She answered phone calls and said hello to visitors. It was not a glamorous job, but it was honest work, and she was grateful to have it. The morning went by quickly. Sarah was busy with phone calls and paperwork. She was so focused on her tasks that she did not notice when someone walked up to her desk. She was looking down at some papers when she heard a familiar voice. "Hello, Sarah?" Sarah looked up from her papers. Standing in front of her desk was a man in a dark blue suit. For a moment, she could not believe her eyes. It was the same man. From the cafe, the man she had bought lunch for with her last $5. "David?" Sarah said quietly. Her voice was shaking with surprise. "What are you doing here?" The man smiled at her. It was the same kind smile she remembered from the cafe. "I work here now, Sarah," he said gently. Sarah's mind was spinning. She could not understand what was happening. "You work here? But what is your job?" David's smile got bigger. "Sarah Martinez. I would like you to meet David Chen. I am the new CEO of Morrison Tech Solutions." Sarah felt like the world had stopped moving. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She stared at David with complete shock. The man she had helped at the cafe, the man she had spent her last $5 on, was the new boss of her company. He was the CEO that everyone had been so excited to meet. I don't understand," Sarah finally managed to say. "You said you forgot your wallet. You needed help buying lunch? How can you be the CEO?" David sat down in the chair next to Sarah's desk. "I was telling you the truth that day," he said softly. "I had just arrived in the city on a very early morning flight. I was tired and confused. I went straight to my hotel to change clothes for my first day of work. In my rush, I left my wallet sitting on the bed." Sarah was still trying to process this information. "But you're the CEO," she said. "You must have credit cards and lots of money." "Yes, I do," David said. "But in that moment at the cafe, I was just a tired, hungry man who had made a mistake. I could have gone back to the hotel to get my wallet, but that would have taken an hour. I would have been late for my meetings. And you, Sarah, offered to help me without knowing anything about who I was or whether I could pay you back. Sarah remembered that day clearly. She remembered how hungry she had been. She remembered giving him her last $5. She remembered walking home from work because she did not have bus money. You used your last $5 to help a complete stranger, David continued. I found out later from talking to other people in the cafe that you walked home that day instead of taking the bus. You sacrificed your own comfort to help someone you had never met before. Sarah felt tears starting to form in her eyes. I just wanted to help, she said quietly. I knew how it felt to be in that situation. And that, David said, told me everything I needed to know about what kind of person you are. Sarah sat in her chair, staring at David Chen. She still could not believe what was happening. The kind stranger from the cafe was now sitting next to her desk, telling her that he was the CEO of her company. It felt like a dream. I need to sit down, Sarah said, even though she was already sitting. David laughed gently. I can see that this is a big shock for you. It's a shock for me too, in a way. When I saw your name on the employee list, I could not believe it. The woman who showed me such kindness was working right here in my new company. Sarah's mind was full of questions. But why didn't you tell me who you were that day at the cafe? Why didn't you say you were going to be the new CEO? Because it did not matter, David said simply. In that moment, I was just a person who needed help, and you were just a person who chose to help me. If I had told you who I was, your decision might have been different. You might have helped me because you thought it would benefit you later. Sarah thought about this. You're right, she said slowly. If I had known you were going to be my boss, I might have acted differently. But I didn't know, so I just did what felt right in my heart. Exactly, David said. And that is what made your kindness so pure and so meaningful. You helped me because you are a good person, not because you expected anything in return. Sarah looked down at her hands. I have to be honest with you. After I bought you that soup, I had no money left. I had to walk home from work that day. I had to eat rice and old bread for 3 days until I got paid. It was very hard. David's expression became serious. I am so sorry, Sarah. If I had known how much that $5 meant to you, I would have found another way to solve my problem. No, don't be sorry, Sarah said quickly. I made the choice to help you. Nobody forced me to do it. And even though those 3 days were difficult, I felt good inside because I had helped someone who needed it. David smiled at her. That is exactly what I mean. You have a good heart, Sarah. In my 20 years of working in business, I have learned that you can teach people many things. You can teach them how to use computers, how to sell products, how to manage money. But you cannot teach someone to be kind. You cannot teach someone to care about other people. That has to come from inside. Sarah felt her cheeks getting warm. You are very nice to say that, but I am not special. I just try to treat people the way I would want to be treated. But that is exactly what makes you special, David said. Many people say they believe in treating others well, but when the moment comes to actually do it, especially when it costs them something, they find excuses not to help. Sarah was quiet for a moment. She was still trying to understand how this could be real. So what happens now? She asked.
I am still just the receptionist. You are the CEO.
Sarah, I want to ask you something. Are you happy with your job here? Sarah thought carefully before answering. I am grateful to have a job, she said. But to be honest, I would like to do more someday. I would like to help the company in bigger ways, maybe work with customers, or help with sales. But I know that I don't have much education or experience. Tell me about your dreams, David said. If you could do any job at this company, what would it be? Sarah's eyes lit up a little. I would love to work with customers. I like talking to people and helping them solve problems. When people call the front desk with questions, I always try my best to help them or find someone who can help them. I think I would be good at customer service or maybe even sales. David nodded as he listened. What about your family situation? Remember you mentioned you have people depending on you? Sarah said. My mother is very sick and cannot work. My little brother is still in school. I send them money every month to help with their expenses. That is why I cannot take any risks with my job. I need to make sure I can pay my bills and help my family. I understand, David said. Family is very important. The fact that you take care of your mother and brother shows me even more about your character. Sarah felt tears starting to form in her eyes again. Sometimes it is very hard. I want to help them, but I also want to build a better life for myself. I feel stuck sometimes. David was quiet for a moment, thinking, then he spoke. Sarah, I want to make you an offer. But first, I want you to know that this is not charity. This is not me trying to pay you back for buying me soup. This is a business decision based on what I observed about you as a person. Sarah's heart started beating faster. What kind of offer? Our customer service department is growing. We need people who understand what it means to put customers first, people who naturally think about helping others, even when it is difficult for them. I would like to offer you a position as a customer service representative. Sarah's eyes got very wide. Really? You would do that? The job pays 60% more than what you make now as a receptionist, David continued. You would also get full health insurance, which means you could help your mother with her medical bills. And there would be opportunities to advance to higher positions in the future. Sarah felt like she might faint. I don't know what to say. This is more than I ever dreamed of. Say yes, David said with a smile. But I want you to understand that this job will not be easy. You'll have to learn new skills. You will have to work with difficult customers sometimes. You'll have to prove yourself, just like everyone else. I am not afraid of hard work, Sarah said quickly. I have been working hard my whole life and will do whatever it takes to succeed. I believe you will, David said. When can you start? Sarah thought about this. I should give 2 weeks' notice for my receptionist job. I don't want to leave the company in a difficult position, David laughed. Sarah, I am the CEO now. I think we can work out the details of your transition. How about you start your new job next Monday? We will find someone to cover the receptionist position. Sarah felt tears rolling down her cheeks now. Thank you so much, David. This changes everything for me and my family. You changed everything for me first, David said. That day at the cafe, you showed me that this company has employees with real character. People who care about others. That gave me hope that we can build something special here. Sarah wiped her eyes with a tissue. I promise I will work very hard. I will not let you down. I know you won't, David said. But remember, you earned this opportunity. You earned it by being the kind of person who helps others even when it costs you something. Never forget that. 6 months had passed since that amazing Monday morning when Sarah learned that David Chen was her new boss. Her life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. She was no longer the receptionist sitting at the front desk. Now she was Sarah Martinez, customer service representative. She loved her new job. Sarah's new office was small but bright, with a window that looked out onto the busy street below. On her desk, she had a photo of her mother and little brother and a small plant that David had given her on her first day in the new position. Next to the plant was a frame with her first Customer Service Award, Employee of the Month. For helping solve the most customer problems in March, every morning, Sarah came to work excited about what the day would bring. She talked to customers on the phone, helped them with their problems, and made sure they were happy with the company's products. She discovered that she was very good at this job. She was patient with angry customers, creative in finding solutions to difficult problems, and always willing to go the extra mile to help. The extra money from her new job had changed everything for Sarah's family. She was able to send more money to her mother, who could now afford better medicine for her illness. Her little brother had new school supplies and clothes that fit him properly. Sarah herself had moved to a bigger apartment in a safer neighborhood. She even had enough money to buy fresh food every week and take the bus to work every day, but the most important change was not about money. Sarah felt proud of herself and confident about her future. She was learning new skills every day and taking evening classes to improve her business knowledge. David had told her that there would be opportunities to advance to higher positions, and she was working hard to prepare herself. On this particular Friday afternoon, Sarah was finishing up a difficult phone call with a customer whose order had been delivered to the wrong address. After 30 minutes of detective work, she had tracked down the package and arranged for it to be delivered to the correct location by the next morning. "Thank you so much, Sarah," the customer said before hanging up. "You saved my daughter's birthday party. I don't know what I would have done without your help." Sarah smiled as she ended the call. This was why she loved her job. Every day she got to help people solve their problems and make their lives a little bit better. "Good work." "On that call," said a familiar voice behind her. Sarah turned around to see David Chen standing in the doorway of her office. Even though 6 months had passed, she still sometimes felt surprised to see him. It was hard to believe that the man she had helped at the cafe was now her boss and mentor. "Thank you," Sarah said. That customer was very worried about her daughter's birthday party. "I am glad we could help her." David came into the office and sat down in the chair across from Sarah's desk. "I have some news for you," he said with a smile. "Good news or bad news?" Sarah asked, feeling a little nervous. "Very good news," David said. "I just got off the phone with the head of our sales department. They'd been watching your work with customers, and they are very impressed. They want to offer you a position as a junior sales representative." Sarah's mouth dropped open. "Sales, really? Really?" David said. "Your customer service skills are excellent, but more importantly, you understand what customers need. You listen to them, you care about their problems, and you find ways to help them. Those are exactly the skills we need in our sales team." Sarah felt her heart beating fast with excitement. "What would I do as a junior sales representative?" "You would work with potential customers who are interested in our products," David explained. "You would help them understand what we offer and how it can solve their problems. You would also work with existing customers to help them buy additional products or services that might help their businesses." "That sounds wonderful," Sarah said. "But do you think I am ready for such a big responsibility?" "I know you are ready," David said firmly. "Sarah, in the past 6 months, you have exceeded every goal we set for you. You have solved more customer problems than anyone else in your department. You've received more positive feedback from customers than any other representative. And most importantly, you have continued to show the same kindness and dedication that you showed me that day at the cafe." Sarah felt tears starting to form in her eyes. "I still cannot believe how much my life has changed because of that one day." "It changed because of who you are," David said. "That day at the cafe did not make you a kind person. You were already kind. It just gave you an opportunity to show it." Sarah thought about this. "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I had not helped you that day. What if I had just minded my own business and bought my own lunch?" "Then you would still be a good person," David said. "But you might not have had the same opportunities. Sometimes in life, we get chances to show who we really are. You took that chance, and it led to good things." "So when would I start the sales job?" Sarah asked. "Next month if you want it," David said. "The pay is double what you make now in customer service. You would also get a bonus for every sale you make. And there are opportunities to advance to senior sales representative and eventually sales manager." Sarah could hardly believe what she was hearing. In less than a year, she had gone from struggling to pay for food to being offered a job that would make her more money than she had ever dreamed of. "I want to accept the offer," Sarah said. "But I have one question." "What is it?" David asked. "Will I still be able to help customers solve their problems? I really love that part of my current job." David smiled. "Sarah, that is exactly why you will be successful in sales. The best salespeople are not the ones who just try to sell products. The best salespeople are the ones who listen to customers and help them find solutions to their problems."
Oh.
"You will still be helping people every day?" "And my answer is yes," Sarah said. "I accept the offer." David stood up and shook Sarah's hand. "Congratulations. I'm very proud of you." As David left her office, Sarah sat back in her chair and looked out the window. She thought about that day 6 months ago when she had used her last $5 to buy soup for a stranger. At the time, it had seemed like such a small thing. She had just wanted to help someone who was having a bad day. Now she realized that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can lead to the biggest changes in our lives. She had helped David when he needed it. not because she expected anything in return, but because it was the right thing to do. And because of that one moment of kindness. Her whole future had changed. Sarah opened her desk drawer and pulled out her wallet. Inside, she kept a $5 bill, not because she needed it for emergencies, but as a reminder. It reminded her to always be ready to help others, even when it might cost her something. Because you never know when helping a stranger might change your life forever. She thought about her mother, who was getting better medical care because of Sarah's new job. She thought about her little brother, who was doing well in school and had dreams of going to college. She thought about her own dreams, which now seemed possible instead of impossible. As Sarah packed up her things to go home, she smiled to herself. On Monday, she would start preparing for her new job in sales. It would be challenging, but she was ready for the challenge. She had learned that when you work hard and treat people with kindness, good things can happen. And she never forgot a lesson that David had taught her. Sometimes the most important moments in our lives happen when we choose to help others, especially when nobody is watching and nobody expects us to do anything at all. The $5 bill in her wallet was a reminder that kindness is never wasted, and that helping others is always worth it, no matter what it costs us.